Have you ever wondered what happens when the massive ships of powerful nations meet on the open ocean? What unfolds when a routine supply run turns into a high-stakes international incident? How can a simple body of water become one of the most tense places on Earth? These are not just abstract questions, they are the very real circumstances that played out in the South China Sea in August 2025. An event occurred that was so unexpected, it left maritime experts watching the footage in disbelief. We will explore exactly what happened step by step. But one key question hangs over the entire incident. How did a confrontation between two nations end, with vessels from the same country crashing into each other? Keep watching until the end for the answer. This story is about more than just a collision at sea. It's about control, claims, and the delicate balance of power in a region vital to global trade. If you enjoy uncovering the stories behind the headlines, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. The day of the incident, August 11th, 2025, began like many others for the crew of the BRP Suluan, a patrol ship of the Philippine Coast Guard. Their mission was straightforward and vital to their fellow citizens. They were tasked with delivering essential supplies, including fuel and food, to a group of over 30 Filipino fishing boats operating near a feature known as Scarborough Shoal. For these fishermen, the presence of the Coast Guard vessel was a welcome sight. As the BRP Suluan approached the shoal, the atmosphere began to change. The vast, empty expanse of the sea was no longer empty. On the horizon, other vessels appeared. They were ships belonging to the China Coast Guard, a powerful maritime force tasked with enforcing China's claims in these contested waters. The mission, which had started as a simple act of support, was now transforming into a delicate navigation of both water and diplomacy. To understand the significance of what happened, we must first understand the location, Scarborough Shoal. This is not an island, but a collection of reefs and rocks in the shape of a triangle, forming a lagoon in the center. Located about 120 nautical miles west of the Philippine island of Luzon, it is a rich fishing ground, a place where generations of Filipino fishermen have sourced their livelihood. It sits within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, as defined by international law, but it is also claimed by China, which asserts historical rights over nearly the entire South China Sea. This waterway is one of the busiest in the world, with trillions of dollars in trade passing through it each year. Control over key features like Scarborough Shoal means influence over these vital sea lanes. Since 2012, China has maintained a near-constant presence at the shoal, effectively controlling access to it. Chinese Coast Guard vessels patrol the perimeter, often blocking or harassing Filipino fishing boats. The Philippines challenged this control, winning a landmark international arbitration case in 2016 that invalidated many of China's claims. However, China has rejected the ruling and continued to assert its presence through powerful maritime forces. On that day in August 2025, there were three key vessels involved in the unfolding drama. First, there was the Philippine Coast Guard's patrol ship, the BRP Suluan. While capable, it is not a warship. Its primary tools are its speed, maneuverability, and the professionalism of its crew. The second player was the China Coast Guard cutter, designated as CCEG 3104. This is a much larger and more imposing vessel, built to be robust and frequently used for assertive maritime enforcement. The third and most powerful vessel was a Chinese Navy destroyer, PLA Navy 164. This is a full-fledged warship armed with missiles, cannons, and advanced sensor systems, representing the military power of the state. This trio of vessels, representing two different nations and three distinct maritime services, created a complex and volatile mix. Each captain had their own set of orders, rules of engagement, and objectives. The vastness of the ocean belied the fact that these three ships were locked in a very close and personal dance, one that was about to take a startling and unexpected turn. As the BRP Suluan continued its course toward the Filipino fishing boats, the China Coast Guard cutter, CCEG 3104, moved to intercept. What had been a shadowing operation now became an active pursuit. The CCGG-3104 began to employ water cannons. Powerful jets of seawater were fired toward the Philippine vessel, intended to intimidate its crew and damage sensitive equipment. The two ships were maneuvering at high speed, often coming within just a few meters of each other. This is an incredibly perilous situation in maritime terms. Large ships have immense momentum, and a miscalculation could lead to catastrophic collision. All the while, the Chinese Navy destroyer maintained its position nearby, a silent and imposing observer adding psychological pressure on the Philippine crew, reminding them of the overwhelming force they were facing. The video footage captured from the bridge of the BRP Suluan shows this tense sequence clearly. You can see the Chinese cutter closing in, the water cannons firing, and the professionalism of the Filipino crew navigating the dangerous situation. It was a classic standoff, a test of will and seamanship. But this familiar script was about to be torn apart by an unforeseen error, a misjudgment that would change the entire dynamic of the encounter in a split second. It was at this critical moment that the Chinese Navy destroyer, PLA Navy 164, made a decisive move. Until this point, it had been a powerful but passive observer. Now it surged forward, maneuvering to place itself directly in the path of the BRP Suluan. This was a major escalation. Using a naval warship to physically block a Coast Guard vessel is highly provocative. The destroyer was creating a floating wall of gray steel that the smaller Philippine ship could not hope to bypass. This sudden intervention changed the geometry of the entire encounter. The BRP Suluan was caught between the destroyer ahead and the Coast Guard cutter pursuing from behind. The space for maneuvering was shrinking rapidly. But it was the captain of the China Coast Guard cutter who was now in the most precarious position. He had been focused intently on the Philippine ship, pushing his vessel at high speed. The sudden appearance of the Allied destroyer created a new and unexpected danger. With the destroyer moving to block the BRP Suluan, the captain of CCGG-3104 was caught completely by surprise. At that speed and distance, there was very little he could do. The laws of physics had taken over, and the collision was almost inevitable. The China Coast Guard cutter slammed directly into the side of the Chinese Navy destroyer. The force of the impact was significant. Video footage shows the bow crumpling as it struck the much more solid hull of the destroyer. From the bridge of the BRP Suluan, the Filipino crew watched this incredible scene unfold. The two vessels that had been working together to harass them had just collided with each other. The hunter had become the victim of friendly fire. The collision brought the chase to an abrupt halt. The Philippine Coast Guard reported that the damage rendered the CCGG-3104 unseaworthy. The BRP Suluan successfully reached the Filipino fishing boats and delivered their vital cargo. This brings us back to the key question we asked at the beginning. How did a confrontation between two nations end with vessels from the same country crashing into each other? The answer lies in aggressive tactics, a lack of coordination, and target fixation. The China Coast Guard cutter was so focused on the BRP Suluan that its crew failed to maintain situational awareness. The destroyer failed to communicate its intentions clearly. It was a classic case of friendly fire in a maritime law enforcement context. The collision serves as a stark warning about the increasing volatility of the South China Sea. As nations continue to press territorial claims with military forces, the chances of such miscalculations grow higher every day. This incident highlights the dangers inherent in China's gray zone strategy. When aggression overrides caution, accidents are bound to happen. This time, the price was a damaged ship and national embarrassment. Next time, it could be much higher. The world will continue to watch the South China Sea, a beautiful and vital waterway that remains one of the planet's most dangerous flashpoints. Subscribe for more amazing content. Keep wondering. Don't miss out on future explorations and discoveries. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with our new content. Your journey of wonder continues with every video. Stay connected and engaged on social media. Continue the conversation, follow us. Thank you for being a part of the Have You Ever Wondered community. Keep wondering, keep discovering. Until next time.